Hello, everyone. Welcome to the VS Code live stream. If you are new here, my name is Olivia. I am a developer advocate on the VS Code team, and I'm so happy to be here with you all. The live streams are a great chance for us to bring guests on, spotlight different features, different things that use VS Code. We have a really great lineup today that we're going to be talking about, some great guests. But before we dive into that, let me know where you're watching from in the chat. If you haven't been in these before, we really like to make this an interactive experience. So as we go through the demo today, talking about the product we'll be showing off, definitely let us know your questions. We'll be monitoring the chat for that and asking our guests as we go. So it's a great chance for you to be able to talk firsthand with the people who work on the product you love. Hello, Abril. Hi, how are you doing? Thanks so much for joining. Definitely drop in the chat where you're watching from. We'll give you a shout out. But with that, let's go ahead and dive into the reason you are all here. We have Meera and Alex coming on today to talk about VS Code for the web and Azure. Hello. How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing, Alex?
Good. How are you?
Good. We have Ahmad watching from Syria who are saying hello to you from Taiwan. So Meera and Alex, I know that this is the first time y'all have been on the live stream, but one of my favorite things is the fact that we have people from literally all over the world who join these live streams. It's a really great chance to connect with our users all over the world. So with that, if y'all want to go ahead and just give an introduction since it is your first time and maybe just talk a little bit about what you'll be showing today.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm Meera. I'm a product manager on the Azure DevTools team. So we basically are in charge of a lot of the cool features that you see that involve like Azure related products in our developer tools. So one of the products that we're going to be showing today is this thing that we're calling like VS Code for the web / Azure, which is basically the feature of Azure of VS Code for the web, which might not make a lot of sense now, but we'll get into that with the demo today.
Nice. I love that little foreshadowing, like statement. Cool. Alex, you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah. I'm an engineer on the Azure Extensions team for VS Code. So we own most of the Azure extensions for VS Code, and now we also own this new product.
Cool. Awesome. I love it. If you're watching, definitely let us know if you're an Azure fan, if you're looking to get started with Azure, if you're already experienced with Azure, just so we can kind of gauge y'all's experience level and kind of give you shout outs throughout the way. All right. Well, now that we have intros out of the way, Meera or Alex, do you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about what you will be showing?
Yeah, sure. I can give a background into the product. So like I said, the product is called VS Code for the web - Azure. Basically, a very long name, but we have an existing product called VS Code for the web. But if you type in your browser vscode.dev, that's the product that would come up right now. It's been a product of VS Code for a very long time now. But we kind of took that product and we added like a feature on top of it, which is the /Azure in that URL. So now the whole thing is vscode.dev/Azure. And it's basically a development environment where we bring all the Azure tooling together in one place for you. So you can use the Azure Developer CLI, you can use Azure Extensions, you can use GitHub Copilot and all of the Azure agents that are used within that Copilot. So, and all of that stuff can be accessed locally, obviously, but the reason why this is special is because the time it takes going from a template to deploying your application is pretty much a one-click operation. So let's say you were a developer who wanted to try out some of the new Azure offerings that we had. This would be a great way for you to kind of come in, try it out, get wowed, hopefully, and kind of stay and use our tools. So yeah, that's a little bit about the product, but I think that it would be helpful if we showed a demo.
Yeah, because I think that that's really cool. That sounds like a lot to have all just in the web. So yeah, I think it'd be great to see it in action.
So I'll pass it to Alex to kind of go through the demo. I'll be chiming in here and there.
Cool. So today's demo starts from our template gallery, And to give a little bit of an overview of the demo, we're going to start here at the template gallery, pick a template, and then we're going to be taken into the star of the show, which is VS Code for the Web Azure. And we're going to deploy that template from the browser right to Azure. And so we're never going to leave the browser. We're going to end with a full-fledged like AI app, and we haven't left the browser. So on the template gallery, you'll find lots of curated AZD templates. Now, if you're not familiar, AZD is the Azure Developer CLI, which is a relatively new Azure command line tool for deploying and managing Azure applications. And specifically when they're bundled as templates, it's very easy to use AZD to deploy and manage these apps.
Okay. So the template kind of lets you just like click a button and you'll have all these apps, like everything you need for it.
Yep.
Configured for you. Awesome.
Yep. Things like CI/CD and building the app are already configured for you. It's very nice.
Nice. Okay. That's really great for anyone just getting started.
And so these templates, they range from like more bare bones apps. Like at the bottom here, there's just one that's a simple Flask app. And then there at the top, we have some AI apps featured, which these are a little bit more complex. See, the one I'm going to be using today is a simple chat application using Azure OpenAI. And this one is obviously a little bit more complex, but we'll explain as we go.
Cool. Let's see it.
So I'm going to go click the Try Template button. This button takes us to VS Code for the Web, which, as I said, is the star of today's demo. On first use, this will ask you to sign in with your Azure account, but for the sake of demo, I'm already signed in. Nobody needs me to watch me fumble through 2FA.
What's your password, Alex?
So now as we load it into VS Code for the Web, a lot of things just happen in the background. First and foremost, we set up your Azure Cloud Shell, and then we used AZD to initialize the template we selected from the gallery. And so as you can see down here in the terminal, we ran AZD init.
Could you actually zoom in just like a couple ticks, Alex?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So in the terminal, you can see we ran AZD init, and then in the Explorer, you can see all the files from that template. So I'm going to go ahead and close the terminal since we're done with that for now. And that I'm going to zoom out one so the walkthrough shows up better. And then a walkthrough that we created for this environment was automatically opened. Now, the first step in the walkthrough is to deploy your template. It's very easy. All you have to do is click this big blue button, and I'm going to click that now before I explain, just so I can, kind of kick that off because it can take a little bit. Clicking that button runs AZD up in our terminal, and it's going to ask me, what Azure subscription do I want to deploy this app to? Then it's going to ask me for a location.
And it will get all your Azure subscriptions automatically because you're already logged in, right?
Yes, okay. That's a good point. The one thing that's special about this environment is it's kind of connected to Azure in a way that most environments aren't, where once you log in at the beginning, those credentials will carry over into this. So all your subscriptions are already there. You're signed in on the CLI automatically. You notice I didn't have to do any logging in on the terminal. I think it's just waiting for, I think it's going to ask me for another location. Must be listing out the locations right now.
That's really nice, though, that it kind of just keeps your login, because I feel like it can be frustrating when you're doing something and it's like you just get 12,000 login prompts. You're like, oh my God, okay, yes. I don't want to do it anymore.
That was certainly a goal of this product, was to let's try to have people only log in once. And so now that I've answered all the questions that it needed, it is packaging and building our app, and then it will be deploying our app. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and let that run in the background, and we can come back to the walkthrough, and I'll let Meera go through some more things about the walkthrough in the environment.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so I think like you got a little bit of like a snapshot. Today we'll be taking a really long time to explain like each of the steps, but developers, when they come in here, they can immediately click on a template, get started in the environment, run AZD up, or click this button that we have here, one click provision and deploy, and they're pretty much ready to go. There's nothing else you need to do. And the application that we're deploying today is like a complicated one. It uses a lot of, Azure services. It uses OpenAI. So it's a pretty hefty template. And the output that you're going to get is this like really cool, chat bot assistant that you can use. Yeah, what Alex is showing.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, like back to the walkthrough. So what our point of this was to, again, like this environment is for users that want to get started with Azure, or they want to get started with like any of our services, but in a very streamlined way. So what we did is we kind of broke down some of the key features of this environment into, deploy your template. So that's the first call to action that we want developers to kind of take a look at and deploy. And again, as Alex commented, this is using the Azure Developer CLI. So, all of the AZD commands kind of come with it. Just want to reiterate that, we do some things for you to kind of ease the load. For example, like we run AZD init. So your template's already initialized when you get into the environment. So that's a little bit about deploying. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is chatting with Copilot. So given today's day and age, Copilot is a huge thing. Everybody likes to use it, and it's kind of a buzzword. But the point of having it in this environment is again to kind of give people access to using Copilot. In this case, it's GitHub Copilot, and you can basically, instead of, let's say, getting started on your own or trying to figure out what questions like you want to ask or find things out about the environment, we've kind of preloaded the environment with Copilot. You obviously have to sign into GitHub to access it, but it's basically just another feature if you do have a subscription that you can use. And I'll kind of let Alex go and show that.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button, which opens the Copilot pane. And here's where normally I would have to sign in with GitHub, but I've already signed in. So it allows me just to go straight to chatting. I'm going to ask it, how do I set my username and email in Git? And it nicely gave me the exact commands I need. So we'll go back. We'll check on our deployment. It looks like it's going nicely. I'm going to make a new terminal here, and I'm going to use these commands since we're going to need them later when we push to GitHub.
Yeah, I love using Copilot for things like this. It's just so much easier because like I never remember any of these Git commands ever. You can just insert it right into the terminal, just make the changes. It's just makes your life so much easier.
And since this is compute backed, I do have a terminal here. It is real. I can do everything I can do on my local machine here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good call out because if any of y'all watching are familiar with vscode.dev, just like the normal vscode.dev, you'll notice you don't have a terminal because there's not that compute. So you can't like run code, do the terminal, anything like that. It's still great for like lightweight edits and things like that. But sounds like that's a really cool value add of this Azure experience is you now have that Azure compute backing you.
Yeah, so I think with that, we can move on to the next step in the walkthrough. Let me close out some of this. Let's see, what's this doing? Okay, we're deploying now.
Cool. And while that's coming up, I actually have a couple questions I'm sure people are thinking about because anytime we mention like Azure, GitHub Copilot, we kind of always have the question of, okay, like you have to pay for a subscription or things like that. But I know there are some free tiers for Azure and things like that. So, how does this work with maybe if you have an account and you're using free services? If you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so basically, that's one thing I actually didn't touch on at the beginning. So this entire environment is, if you have an Azure subscription, it is technically it's not any additional cost to you if you have an Azure subscription. So we actually are partnering with a team called Azure Cloud Shell. They are actually a product that you can actually use in the Azure portal today. It is that terminal button next to your name right at the top in the portal. It basically is bringing this terminal experience to VSCode.dev. So like you said, like we in the original VSCode.dev, we basically have a terminal out like thing on the screen, but we can't really run any commands in it because there's no compute backing it. So given that we kind of connect to Azure Cloud Shell when we jump from a template to this environment, we bring that compute in and are able to give people the ability to run, debug, deploy applications, which is like, what developers want to do. Now, in terms of cost, so the session itself has like a 4-hour limit. So you can kind of come into this environment if you have an Azure subscription. You can actually use all of our tools and deploy applications for up to 4 hours for every 24 hours. So like I said, this is like a great way for you to come and not really pay a lot of money in terms of, deploying these really hefty templates, like these AI templates. But you can come in and actually try it out and be sold on, some of our really cool services and offerings that we have to developers. So yeah, that's a little bit about the pricing, I guess, on the Azure side. Now, on the GitHub side, obviously, like Copilot is available for you, and it's just like another way to show that this is a fully fledged environment. There's really very limited number of things that you can't do in here that you could do like in the desktop experience. But obviously in Copilot, you do need to have a GitHub Copilot subscription. I think for the demo's sake, like Alex was already logged into GitHub, so it kind of just already popped up there. But if you were a first-time user, it would prompt you to sign into GitHub, check for a GitHub Copilot subscription, and then kind of, go from there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really great to know, just so people kind of have like the prereqs of like what those accounts look like. I can definitely see something like this being amazing for students, for example, like getting started with Azure. So if you're using like any of those, student free accounts with Azure or GitHub Copilot, this is a great way to just even build off of that. It'll just integrate with those existing accounts. So, you don't have to worry about just like some crazy charges or something happening. Cool. And then one other thing I wanted to ask, if we have time to, is I know you kind of mentioned that this is really great for getting started with these deployments. What if you already have something like this deployed? Does it still make sense to be using this VSCode.dev for Azure Experience? Or is that like maybe when you would just go into the desktop and just use like the Azure extensions there?
Yeah, so since we kind of signed people into Azure here, right? We'll actually walk you. That's a great leading question into my next step,
Perfect.
which Alex probably picked up on too. So basically, if you already have like an application, let's say you deployed yesterday, and you are on the go, or you need to make a quick code change, this is an incredible environment for you because again, it's in the browser. It's really lightweight, but it also offers pretty much everything that you would need in terms of compute. So the thing that Alex is kind of hovering over is the Azure pane, and I'll kind of let him take over because that will kind of answer your question.
Cool, sounds great.
Yeah, so in this environment, we've kind of preloaded it with some common Azure extensions, excuse me. You can see all of my subscriptions here. Hopefully you don't have this many. I'll filter it down to just the one I'm deploying to. And then this is a very helpful view because you can see the template I am using is listed here. And you can kind of see the services the template uses. So this is a container app, and this is the environment that was created for me when I loaded into VS Code for the web. And then in the resources pane, you can go through and see all of my resources. So if I deployed something yesterday, I can go in here and interact with it and see it in here. There's quite a few Azure extensions actually, and not all of them are installed by default, but things like function apps have a lot of there's lots of features in here for people who deal with function apps. There's lots of features in here for container apps. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
basically
awesome. There's a
it's an
lot.
easy portal at your fingertips,
Yeah,
right in VS Code.
Yeah, so
very
I just
cool.
wanna kind of highlight like what Alex is showing here. So pretty much anything you can like you deployed in the portal, you now have it in VS Code for you all in one place. So you don't really have to now go between VS Code and the portal. You can actually just see it all in one space. And the bottom kind of box that Alex is showing is like your workspace. So kind of what you right now are working on. So to answer your question, Olivia, it would be a great tool for somebody who kind of wants to check status on certain subscriptions, redeploy it, make changes, but like not have to rely on like a really long process or like go accessing their local desktop.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think, if any of y'all are familiar already with vscode.dev, that kind of falls in line with when you would use vscode.dev anyways. It's kind of when you're looking for those like quick like check-ins, make quick edits, things like that. That's when it's really helpful because one thing is this is all in the browser. So you could even just access this like on your tablet or something like that. So it's really cool. It really is like VS Code on the go is kind of how I always phrase vscode.dev. Anywhere you have a browser, just open it. So yeah, that's a really great call out. I'm glad to see like just how much is loaded into this with this Azure experience. It's awesome.
I'm gonna double check on our deployment. Ooh, looks like it's done. So it
Okay,
took,
cool.
Success. Love the green text.
yeah, 4 minutes and 50 seconds to deploy our app. Let's go ahead and open it and see. Okay, so this is a fairly basic chat application, but I'm gonna ask it, why is managed identity better than using keys? And hopefully it'll explain that to me. Awesome, it's working.
That's cool. And this is literally just all from that try out this template
Exactly.
button.
Yeah.
That's awesome. One click and you have a fully functioning chat app.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so we kind of the whole point of this is to kind of bring developers these really nice templates, but not really rely on them to have to go and configure their environment. So we take care of pretty much everything for them, and they just have to click, provision and deploy, and they have an application similar to how what you just saw. That was deployed. So we hope that people come and like kind of try out these templates and kind of get used to using this really fast-paced environment. Because we've heard from a lot of developers that, I might be, I need to show this demo to like a colleague or somebody at work, or I might be on the go and need to make a change. And I may not want to rely on my like local experience every single time. So this is a great way to come and kind of try out tools. And even if you aren't, like an Azure developer, you obviously can sign up for a subscription. There are like there's free tiers there, but using this environment doesn't cost you anything extra other than just having a subscription to Azure.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think it's really cool because a lot of times we hear that people just get really intimidated by like, okay, where do I start? What do I do? And this kind of takes out that intimidation factor. It's like, okay, once you have your account set up, like just go here, hit try. You don't even have to like go into a different application. You're still just in the browser. And I think anything that can take out that sort of like mental overhead of how do I even get started is so powerful. And I hope people find really helpful. And we have Ahmad who's agreeing in the chat saying accessing all that you need from one place is super cool. I definitely agree. And Meera, this is probably also going to be a segue into, I think, what you're about to say. But Dorian asked, how can I access this?
Yeah, definitely. I will get to that in 1 second. We have
Cool.
like one more thing we want to show. So the last step of the walkthrough is kind of saving your work. So I wanted to kind of highlight this. So this product is currently in private preview right now. We'll kind of talk about like accessing it, and like we really want developers to come and kind of try this out and tell us what they like and what they don't like. That's the point of the private preview. But the saving your work part of the product is important because right now, like I said, there's 4 hours for you to come in and try out anything you want with no additional cost to the Azure subscription that you have. Kind of beyond that, given that we're kind of partnering with Azure Cloud Shell, it's kind of following their guidelines in terms of like when they like restart their entire service for that given subscription or tenant that you're using. So before that 4 hours runs out, we really want people to go and actually publish their code to GitHub, which again is all, you can do it in this environment. You don't really have to go anywhere and do that. So I'll have Alex just show that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So on this step, we like inform you that, you know, your work is not saved unless you commit code to GitHub, or that's the best way to save your work. And so I'll click this publish to GitHub button, which takes me to the source control view in VS Code. And I will just commit all these files and then click publish branch. And it's going to ask me to sign in. Okay. And then I will publish it to a GitHub repo. And so in just 2 clicks, or a couple more with the sign in, we have the code that I just had in VS Code for the web. Now it's on GitHub. And so any changes that I make in this environment, I can commit to GitHub to save for later or share with collaborators.
Nice. I love that. That's included in the walkthrough because I'm always very surprised to see how many people don't know that you can just do that directly in VS Code because it's so easy. There's so many people who would be like, oh, I wrote this code, but I didn't like git init it. And so now I don't know what to do. I can't get it into it. And so hey, just a couple clicks and you'll be in your own repo and you don't have to worry about losing your changes. So I'm glad that that's a part of this.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's kind of that'll lead me into kind of the next steps for this. So to Dorian's question, how can I access it? So we, like I said, we're in private preview right now, and we really want as many developers to kind of try this out and tell us what they like and what they don't like, you know, as we're going to working towards public preview. And so we've kind of set up a survey that customers can come and kind of just fill out some really like, I guess, elementary information about themselves. It doesn't take very long. It should take you maybe like 30 seconds. But this will basically just allow us to kind of contact you. We'll send you an email with, you know, access to the product. And from there, you know, we'll ask you to test it out. We'll follow up with you and kind of just do an interview so that we can understand exactly, you know, what you liked, what you didn't like, you know, what you struggled on, and where we can kind of improve the experience. And specifically, the most important thing when you're, you know, talking about this or you're filling out the survey is question number 5, which Alex will kind of explain a little bit more.
Yeah. Question number 5 is for your subscription ID, which is really how we give you access to the product, is based on your subscription ID. And then there's a specific call out on the subscription ID question where we encourage, or we kind of need a subscription ID within your default and or home tenant. And if you don't know what that is, then you're probably fine. Just give us your subscription ID. But if you have multiple tenants, you will need to give us one that's in your home tenant. And if you have questions, you can reach out to, I guess, how can they reach us? What's the best way for them to reach us if they have questions about this question? Like,
Yeah, I can, you can email me at my Microsoft email, and I can get back to you if you have any questions with your Azure subscription ID.
Cool. So we'll make sure that that's in the video description.
Yes.
So y'all can reach out to Meera if you have any questions just about getting the survey submitted. And
But
the
yeah.
subscription ID, it's fairly easy to find in the portal, right? I think it's just kind of like right at the.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you just have one subscription ID, then just copy paste that in here for us. And the other questions we just ask you are your name, email, and the GitHub alias is just so that we can add you to our repo, so that you can file any issues or like the conversations that we have via email. We can actually just track it in the repo, and basically create bugs and like triage them. So yeah.
Cool.
That's
So they can reach out to you if there's any questions about like, okay, how do I even find my subscription ID? How do I submit this? But then once they've been granted access, then the best way for feedback is just directly in that repo, correct?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think we will definitely, with everyone who signs up on the survey, reach out to them and actually conduct interviews, just so that we can like know a little bit more about how you used it, what you liked. But definitely in GitHub, we'll be tracking like any errors or bugs that came up, or any honestly feature requests that people have for this environment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great call, because a lot of times people are just like, hear feedback and they think, okay, what's wrong with it? But feedback's also great to be like, oh wait, I would love to see this in here.
Yeah.
All that is super valuable to hear what's the best experience that you all would find beneficial. So yeah, we have that link. It was showing on the screen. We have it in the YouTube comments, so you can actually just click directly to it. And then it'll also be in the description of the video too. So in a couple different places. So if you didn't catch it, yeah, on the screen again. And then again, on demand, it will be in that video description. So you can just get to it really easily. And you can reach out to Meera if you have any questions about getting that survey submitted.
Yep, definitely. I'm just seeing a chat from someone with the name of Son of Deladis. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I totally agree with you. The name has been in the works right now. Right now, it's being called VS Code for the Web / Azure, but you're not the only one. Even internally, a lot of people at Microsoft are like, what do we call this thing? So for now, it's private preview, so we will work on it. But that is definitely something that will go into GitHub as a comment from a developer that said like the name needs to be changed. So things like that are really helpful. And we'd love to talk. I especially, and I'm sure Alex is a developer. So I love talking to developers and really understanding what you guys like and what you don't like. So please take the time to fill out the survey, and we would love to hear your thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely think that's great to kind of see our first like live feedback here. Naming things is hard, y'all. It is. So yeah, we'll definitely take that feedback. And any other feedback as y'all get access is really great to hear. Cool. All right. Well, Meera and Alex, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we say thank you and goodbye to everyone?
No, that's about it. I think I summed everything up.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for giving us an overview of this experience. I think it's really powerful. I think people are going to find a lot of benefit from it. Everyone watching, definitely make sure to fill out that survey so you can get access and provide feedback. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to Meera. You can even just leave a comment on our YouTube channel. We check those too. So if you're like having issues, we can then like route you guys together to figure it out. But yeah, thank you again, Meera and Alex, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for watching at home. We always appreciate having you here. Definitely tune in for future live streams. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on those. And we also post other long form videos and shorts that you won't want to miss that have little tips and tricks. With that, we'll go ahead and log off. Thank you again to everyone watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.